Good morning, everyone. It's Stephen and Andrea from Pen and the Atlas. Welcome to video number 3 in our ghost town tour. Can you guess what main street this is? If not, I know somebody that can tell us what it is. Maybe that'll give you a big hint. So where exactly are we today?
Well, if you haven't guessed it already, we're in Tombstone, and no ghost town adventure would be complete without a visit to this historic town. Now, the first building we're going to go into is the Birdcage Theatre, and this is the only original building on this block, dating from 1881. It's also meant to be the most haunted. Let's take a look. Now, the Birdcage Theatre is very, very strict on filming and photography. Fortunately, we have spoken to the gentleman running the place, and we have been given full permission to not only take photographs and film, but to also put it on our social media and YouTube. Bonus.
Let's walk into the past. Now you can see here this photo, and then across the way there's a catwalk, there's another one. Those are the bird cages. 7 of them exist still to this day. That catwalk in the middle, that's where the ladies would walk across to get the men all excited, and the entertainment would start at $25. Now, some other interesting things about the building. See just above that poster, that hole, that's a bullet hole. Original. Now these are going to be a little bit more difficult to see, but just there on her skirt there's a knife slash. There's a bullet hole right there. She's got one there, and there's several throughout the painting here. This lady, Josephine Sarah Marcus Earp. Obviously, she was married to Wyatt Earp. She used to work here, and this is where they met.
The bullet is still in there. It's 130 years old. It's from a 45.
And this bar has been here since the day it was built, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Isn't that just absolutely gorgeous? Let's go. Now, remember those bird cages I was mentioning as we walked in? There they are up top.
And the ladies used to entertain for $25.
See it all the way around the top. This grand piano, it has sat in this same exact spot since 1881. Think of all the outlaws and all the customers that this played tunes for over the years. Hopefully the full reflection here isn't too bad. This was a handmade craps table. Look at the carpeting. Ah, these are real pieces of history here. Look at those cards. Now this is the original faro table where Doc Holliday played. Pretty remarkable. And here's a look in here at the bottom. The little table, lamp, chair back there. Now, this box or birdcage was occupied every night for 2 years at $25 by a gentleman named Russian Bill. Now, this guy was not an outlaw, but he wanted it to appear that way. So, one night he decided he was going to steal a horse. Unfortunately, he was hanged for it. Oops! Wow, look at these old photos. Look at the history here captured. Incredible. A bathtub. That's really cool.
The dentist's chair. Now, Doc Holliday used to be a dentist. That's what his profession was before he got TB.
Saddle. The caps.
That's sad, a child's coffin.
Yeah.
Now, this area here is meant to be where the most paranormal activity is held, especially with the hearse.
The Black Mariah. This is said to be the only known survivor. There were about 6 of these built, they believe. And this is the only one still in existence today. It's got 24 karat gold and silver, sterling silver linings.
Think how many hundreds of people were transported in this.
Yeah.
Because it says there it buried everyone in Boot Hill Cemetery, with the exception of 6 people. Wow. And there's an undertaker's bag at the top and the mortician's table. It's an old writing desk.
Yeah. Grandparents had a desk like this.
Look at the graffiti on the wall as well. Now they do say this place, when this place first closed down, it was empty for 50 years, boarded up, and when the new owners bought it in the 1920s, I believe, or 1930s, they opened it up and everything was exactly how it was left. Can you imagine that?
It's been incredible. It continues down. Really like those those old paintings. John Bain, Wyatt Earp, and photo of Sadie Joe.
Now, Sadie Joe and Wyatt Earp met here and they fell deeply in love, and they stayed together for, I think it was well over 20 years, until Wyatt died. So he found his true love here. And everything in here is all original.
It's incredible.
The earrings, now would that be turquoise in there? Because turquoise was mined locally.
Yeah, I'd imagine.
Oh. Can't see in there.
Hmm. You get a glimpse of the upstairs where we were. Wow. Still got some of the old barrels in there. Now this is the place where the longest card game in the world was held. Do you know how long it lasted? 8 years, 5 months, and 3 days. Now sometimes you would have to wait up to 3 days to have your name called to enter the game. Starting wage to enter, $1,000. In today's money, that was $30,000. So obviously, all the big hitters were a part of it.
And Doc Holliday spent a lot of time here gambling in that 8-year card game.
Incredible. As you can hear behind me, they're starting a new tour of the birdcage, and it was great to film in there. Now we're going across the street to the Gunfight Palace. We were invited in here by some of the cowboys. They said they're going to give us a full show that's historically accurate. None of the Hollywood BS. So what do you say we go inside and see what it's all about?
Now the town of Tombstone grew up around the silver. In 1880, we went through a population explosion. Some say as many as 10 to 15,000 people may have lived here at that time. We don't really know. See, Arizona was still a territory at the time, and the census takers were corrupt, and they discriminated against certain groups, so we don't really know. What we do know, however, is that we were the largest city between St. Louis and San Francisco. Pretty good size. Now, to give you an idea of how large we got, Allen Street, historical street out here, back in the day, there were over 106 saloons on Allen Street alone. 106 saloons. I don't know about you folks, that's my idea of heaven, I guarantee you that. At any given time, hundreds if not thousands of miners, gamblers, gunfighters, ladies of the evening, all of them armed. It doesn't take a rocket science to figure out the end result there. Chaos and mayhem. Now, of all the gunfights that happened in Tombstone, folks, there were a lot. The most famous, of course, is the gunfight at the OK Corral. 26 October, 1881, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It was a cold, snowy day in Tombstone. 30 shots were fired in less than 60 seconds. When the smoke cleared, 3 men lay dead. Billy Clanton, the brothers Tom and Frank McClowry, dead. On the Earp side, both Morgan and Virgil received a bullet in that gunfight. Now, the movies don't show this, but Doc Holliday also received a bullet in that gunfight. Hit him in the hip area, ricocheted off his gun barrel. Now, it hurt him so bad, he truly thought it was a gut shot. And the only man left standing in that gunfight, thereby sealing his legacy as the most famous lawman in Western history, the fellow you may have heard of. Name's Wyatt Earp. Anybody ever hear of him? Wyatt Earp died in 1929 in Los Angeles, California, just shy of his 81st birthday. He died of natural causes, very rare. John Holliday, better known as Doc Holliday, he lived for 6 more years after that gunfight, died in Glenwood Springs, Colorado of consumption, what we call today tuberculosis. Now, we've said that Tombstone was made famous, thanks to silver. We're still on the map today, thanks to blood. And that being said, who's ready to see a gunfight?
Well, boys, it looks like my luck has changed.
Is that a fact? How many cards?
Just one.
Just one, huh?
Off the top.
Careful, Charlie. Back.
2.
Dealer takes 2. All right, Storms. Let's see what you're so proud of over there.
Well, boys, what you think? All in?
All right, Charlie, I'm in.
Charlie, I believe I'm going to stay with you. Show 'em.
Well, boys, looky here. 3 lovely aces. Read 'em and win.
See, Charlie, I told you some new blood to bring you some luck. Now maybe you square up with the house.
That's how to take care.
Now, hold on just a sec there, Charlie. I'll admit 3 aces is a mighty strong hand. Unfortunately, you don't beat 4 8s. Excuse me, Charlie, let me get these out of your way.
Short! What is that now? 6 hands in a row? Ain't nobody that lucky.
Now, Charlie, that's 7 hands in a row. You got something to say?
Come around here, Charlie.
That, I'm just saying, there ain't nobody that lucky.
Charlie, I'll tell you what. How about we take us a little break? Go on, Bart, have a on by.
Now that sounds like a good idea.
I believe I can afford it now.
You just gotta keep stoking that fire, don't you?
Oh, come on, back. You know it was a fair game. Ain't that right, Charlie?
Swing the back there, Charlie.
That's what I'm up all around on me.
All around on you.
Yeah, with my money.
Keep it up, Charlie. The fact sure looks like them cards are loving me again today, don't it?
Yeah, Luke, you always seem to win.
Yeah, I do, don't I? Here's to you, Charlie.
Yeah, you always seem to win. When you're doing the dealing.
All right, boys. Max, you stay out of this. It's gone on long enough. Storms, I've had a belly full of you gas. Now, I told you once you got something on your mind, you best spit it out.
Those slick hands and loose lips get you down.
Well, I reckon that's why they call you the Undertaker's friend.
He wasn't much of a poker player, was he, Bat?
Nope.
I tell you though, I sure am going to miss his money. Well, let's get us another drink, play some more poker.
Here we are just outside the one place that everybody knows about in Tombstone, the OK Corral. They do daily shows, reenacting the gunfight. They've got a little museum inside as well as out back. You can walk through, discover some of the old pieces that still remain. Try to make it look as authentic as it did back in the day. So, we'll continue to walk through town, see what other sights there are.
Now here we have Big Nose Kate's Saloon. Now this is a very famous place because it was where Morgan Earp had that fatal bullet that went through a window and killed him. Now the original saloon was burnt in the fire, but this was one of the first buildings to be rebuilt.
This beautiful building in front of us here is the Tombstone Courthouse in Cochise County. It was built in 1882 for a cost of $43,000. They actually built a kiln on site so brick makers could make the bricks right here. You can see it's still quite a grand building that's still standing, and they're taking very good care of it, which is nice to see. And then one feature I like, this is really cool, this spiral staircase. All the craftsmanship that went into these things. And that building right there was built 18 years later for lawyers' offices. Though when the county seat was moved to Bisbee in 1929, they turned them into apartments. This magnificent building is City Hall, and it has been in continuous use since 1882 when it was built. Over here we have the San Jose, which was Tombstone's first lodging house, and next door was Jack Crabtree's livery stable. Here on historic Route 80 is the statue of the man himself, Wyatt Earp. This legend is larger than life, so is this statue, but his legacy has helped keep Tombstone alive. As the sign states, we're now at the Boot Hill Graveyard. Let's go check it out.
Here we are at the famous Boot Hill Cemetery. Now 3 people that are famous who are buried here is Frank and Tom McClowry, which were the brothers, and Billy Clanton. They were the 3 people that were shot and killed at the famous OK Corral shootout. Fun fact, the OK Corral shootout didn't actually happen at the OK Corral. It happened on an empty block several hundred feet away from where the OK Corral stands and is now covered by Highway 80. True story. The Boot Hill Cemetery was actually known as Tombstone Cemetery, and it was ended up being changed in the 1920s for tourism purposes. True story.
Huh. I see. Now the graveyard has become quite expansive.
So this Jack Dunland, 3-fingered Jack, he was the guy that attempted the train robbery that shot the Jeff Milton in Fairbank.
Yeah. So he was the one, he passed away of the injuries from the gunshots. Milton was shot himself, I think as we said earlier, but told his arm would never work again, it might be amputated, but it fully recovered. Now one of the things interesting about this graveyard, you see this far headstone made out of wood there. It says 3-fingered Jack, shot by Jeff Milton. Here in the foreground, you have Joseph Ziegler, murdered, 1882. Back here, Jim Riley, 1881, murdered. Again here, Alfred Cantrell, shot. Back there, unknown. Now I wonder what the difference between murdered and shot is. I would imagine they died the same way. Here now are the three celebrities of Boot Hill Graveyard. One Billy Clanton, one Frank McLowry, and one Tom McLowry, all murdered in the streets of Tombstone in 1881 by one Mr. Wyatt Earp.
Apparently, in the 1920s, this graveyard was so overgrown, a group of historians came along and started doing research. They cleaned up the cemetery and researched who was buried where. So most of the graves, as far as I can tell, are genuine graves from the historians.
Here we are. Rook. Shot by a Chinaman. Don't know when, why, how, but he was. According to that.
You know how? He was shot.
That's true. Whoops.
And here we have China Mary. Now, Mrs. Lum used to run the whole of the Chinese quarter. That was the laundries, the shops, the opium dens, and the ladies who applied their trade.
This is another interesting story. Mr. George Johnson, hanged by mistake in 1882. You know the term everybody says, I'm innocent, I'm innocent? He really was. Story goes, he purchased a stolen horse without knowing, but he was committed of the crime. Here lies Mr. Emmett Crook Nunnally. He was the gentleman responsible for restoring the cemetery, and it was his request to be buried here. Fun fact about this graveyard here. These three graves to my right, nobody knows who's buried here. True story.
Now, the one thing about Tombstone is there is so much history here, so many shows to see, that it would take forever to put it all in a video. Plus, it doesn't leave anything for you guys to come and see. We highly recommend coming here, support the locals, take a ride on a buggy, go and see a show, have something to eat, and enjoy yourselves and take in the history that Tombstone has to offer.
Now, everybody knows of Wyatt Earp, Doc Holliday, the Clanton brothers, the fight at the OK Corral, all of that. One thing most people don't know about is none of that could have actually taken place here if it wasn't for the gentleman buried here, Mr. Ed Schiefflin. This is his monument. This is the real founder of Tombstone.
Now, Ed Schiefflin used to go out into the hills prospecting for silver, and the soldiers used to say to him, Ed, if you keep going out, you'll only find your tombstone. Ed did keep going out, and he came across one of the richest silver strikes in the history, and he named the mine Tombstone. True story.
So that is going to wrap up this video in the Ghost Town Tour series of Tombstone. We hope you've enjoyed this video, and thank you so much for watching.
Now get out there, go and explore, put another pin in the atlas, and we will see you on our next adventure.
Bye.
Bye.